It is the year of the Kraken. Our heroes return from the frosty winter to the sea. Have a game under the warmth of the Hearthstone. StarLadder I-League StarSeries Finals. Having slain countless opponents to reach this point, Chinese players Xixuai and Xixo shall join the masters of the game Xixo, Naiman, Hoi, Java, Dr. Hippie, Stansivska in Shanghai for a shot at taking the throne. From the highest-ranking ladder players to the hidden dark horses, who shall reign supreme? Conquer 4, 5, ban 1, double elimination. Will the champion once again remain in China, or shall a new victor emerge? July 8th to the 10th. Start from 10 a.m. Shanghai, China. Come and witness the tournament of the century.
Alright, welcome back everyone to the StarLadder and I-League StarSeries Season 2. I'm Noxious, and with me is Firebat for the finals, the grand finals actually, of the Season 2 of StarLadder. We have a Chinese player, Xieshuai versus Navi Xixo.
Yeah.
You kind of bet that Xixo would go pretty far, but you still hedge your bets against him.
Yeah.
For Stansivka.
Yeah.
Didn't work out.
Didn't work out. Xixo's here.
Yep.
And but I picked two horses at the beginning of this race. I picked Stansivka and I picked Xieshuai, which I guess is kind of cheating, being able to pick two players.
Yeah, I was going to say, in an 8-player pool, I feel like picking two guys is a bit of a cheat, but sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, he's made it this far, and now we actually have a rematch of Day 1, Game 1.
Yep.
The first game that started this whole LAN finals was Xixo versus Xieshuai, and they're here. They've made it to the finals. They're walking onto the stage now. Originally, Xixo was able to take it over Xieshuai, so you have to pin him as the favorite, and he's been the favorite of the tournament the whole way through for a lot of players.
I feel like that's the case, yeah. Xieshuai is also playing a Reno lock, and he's the only player with Reno lock who advanced this far.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of players were favoring Zoo, or simply not expecting the Warlock to perform. People banned it. It's the signature class of Xieshuai was also going to be, hopefully for him, playing it. I don't know if Xixo wants it to happen because there's a warrior on his lineup, which makes everything a bit clunky. If Reno Luck can farm your warrior, then you're not happy.
You're definitely unhappy. And thus far, in the encounters that Xixo has had against Xieshuai, he did ban the Warlock. So he last time banned the Reno Lock, and he may continue that trend.
而我应该不需要记的东西，我这个脑海中都记得一清二楚，所以我有更多的时间能考虑一下每回合怎么打，而不需要通过看一下小纸条记录什么。这应该是我一个很大的优势。这次比赛我一开始就是奔着冠军去的，因为我自认为是一个比较有天赋的选手。在我认知中，我玩炉石的时间真正的只有3个月，而3个月时间能取得了一些不错的成绩，所以我对自己还是很有信心的。
All right, so we got to learn a little bit more about Xieshuai. So we had two Chinese players in the top 8 initially, but Xixo got weeded out pretty early. Yeah. And quite frankly, I'm happy that Xieshuai made it all the way through. Of the two Chinese players, I think he's definitely the more solid of them by a long shot. And that's really nice to see. Xixo, I mean, he's looking to win. You know, he said, second place is good money, but I'm not here for the money only.
Definitely, Xixo is not a player that's here for the money. He's here for the title. Xixo wants to add another title onto his long list of accomplishments with 4 first places, a second place, and some third places in top 8s.
Yeah, he's actually one of the best ranked players across the world, just in general. I know it's one of the players you respect the most as far as the skill goes, so it's nice to see that he's getting a lot done here.
Definitely one of the most technical players in the game. Yeah, I compare him to, Kalento. Kalento and Xixo are very similar in my mind. They're both extremely good technical players. Kalento always brings Priest, though, and that kind of screws him. Xixo usually just plays the most standard decks, but he plays them the best out of everybody, generally speaking.
And he's also got a very good mind when it comes to teching those decks for the tournament. So quite frankly, I'm happy to see what he's brought today. It's a really good lineup.
Well, I had a lot of
and here's the interview.
People helped me prepare, and some of the people who helped me prepare didn't sleep all night to watch my match yesterday, so that was kind of cool. So shout outs to Grain, to tic-tac, and I prepared with Hoi, but he's in China as well, so he didn't have to stay awake. So those were like my main practice partners. And I also heard that a lot of my Korean friends are watching, so pretty hyped about going to Korea after this tournament as well. So shout out to my Korean fans. I think like exploring different cultures is pretty fun. Like last year I went to Korea, this year to China, and like to America in between a couple of times. Like it's always cool to watch other cultures and like try different food and all that stuff. But overall, I think that other people get nervous on LANs, while I don't really get nervous. So I feel like playing on a LAN stage makes it easier for me, just because chances are my opponent are making more misplays than they would play at home. So first of all, there's only 2 players left, me and Nyman, because Xieshuai has Hunter and Dr. Hippie has Rogue, so both of them are really unlikely to win this lineup-wise. So it's only 2 players left. I think that my deck's a little better tech than Nyman's, even though we have the same matchup. But it's also double elimination, so more chance for the better player to win, less random effects, since you can lose one match and still make it. So yeah, I think I'm just favored against Nyman. The other 2 players are very unlikely to make it, so should be good odds for me.
All right, so we heard Xixo speak about the lineup and what he thought he would be facing off against in the event. He's definitely been playing the strongest of all the players here. I feel like today, the beginning of the day was a little bit rough. We saw, a few misplays in the first series, but
the miscounting too. He thought he had lethal, went all in with it, and just didn't have lethal. So you see the pressure can sometimes get to even great technical players like Xixo, and even though he's very kind of adamant about his skill level, rightfully so.
Yeah.
But he's also said like Xieshuai had some misplays when he played him in the first round.
Sure.
Xieshuai maybe had some nerves as well at the earlier stages of the tournament. But as it's progressed, both of these players have demonstrated why they deserve to be here, showing their consistency and.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say one thing, though. The fact that they all have full information at this point, not quite complete, but the picture of what the decks look like is pretty much complete for those players. So that also gives them a lot more confidence, I guess, in what they have to play around, what they have to worry about. Is there something fancy? And I think Xixo's lists are also very unpredictable. So it's good for Xieshuai that he's got the info now going in the matchup. He also has one of the few mid-range hunters that we've had in the event.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see the mid-range hunter is actually banned for Xieshuai. So Xixo paying a lot of respect to the mid-range hunter. That's a very interesting ban, and he's leaving up the Reno lock, which he didn't do in the past, but that may be just because he thought it was Zoo in the past, and now that he knows it's Reno lock, he feels more comfortable, able to deal with it.
I don't know. So here's the one thing about the Reno lock that Xieshuai is running. I don't think he's running the list that has the
N'Zoth.
the
There's no
N'Zoth
N'Zoth.
in it.
It's
So it's the combo list, which means that suddenly maybe the Warrior, if navigated properly, can do a bit better. I mean, it's really awkward, but you stack the armor, maybe you can pull that off.
Sure.
I mean, Xixo is playing a Cthulhu Warrior, so you just stack up that armor, prevent the kill on the OTK, and maybe you get away with it. So I kind of like the line of play, or line of thinking, if that's what he's following with.
Yeah, I think he just assumed. I think you're spot on with that. I think he sees the version of Reno lock that Xieshuai's playing and realizes, you know what, Hunter's probably honestly better against my Warrior than the combo Reno lock is. And
well, speaking of the devil, the Faceless Manipulator kind of indicates that is going to be the Reno lock from Xieshuai versus the Druid from Xixo, which is a Yogg Saron Druid, running some fancy stuff like Onyxia.
Yeah.
To top off the curve, gives those Savage Roars a lot more potential. Oh god, Doomsayer Bolt.
Yeah, it also just makes it so the Reno lock has to board clear a lot more often. The Yogg Druid has the ability to load up with tokens once, and with tokens again with like the second Violet Teacher, maybe even a third time with the Fandral, and now even a fourth time with the Onyxia. So if the Reno lock isn't really on point with his AoE removals, he could find himself in a situation where he just runs out of AoE to deal with the Yogg Druid, and that's what makes it pretty strong in the matchup.
Yeah, I think you kind of highlighted one of the big weaknesses of Reno lock in that they just have limited amounts of AoE removal, and they also are missing out on one of the most, some of the most powerful tools that they had prior to that. In the Reno was Belcher. Those kind of cards really helped out. So Xieshuai has the Doomsayer, probably one of the 2/2 drops in his deck.
Yeah.
So Dark Peddler and Doomsayer being some of the cards you're looking for. Do you expect him to play a deterrent Doomsayer here to just keep going, or life tap is just so important?
Life tap is really important, but if you don't play the Doomsayer now, you gotta imagine it's not gonna be going off for quite a while. So, I think I favor playing it right now. I'm not the most expert Reno Lock player in the world. I'd say if these is the one of the decks that I have the most weaknesses with would be the Reno Lock, but I tend to favor playing it here just because the likelihood of it going off in the later stages of the game is decreased by so much. But you know, I don't honestly mind tapping either because it's just 2 treants and you expect your opponent to be wild growthing, but Xixo is not wild growthing in the traditional sense here, but wild growthing while developing a 3/3.
Yeah, which suddenly makes the Doomsayer a little bit more difficult to make work. One of the things about the life tap that Xieshuai did is, I mean, there's a case to be made where you play Doomsayer on 2 and you tap on 3. Sure, it feels a little bit clunky, but if you're not tapping here, then I don't think there's really any advantage to holding on to the Doomsayer unless you hope to stagger with Twisting Nether to set up the combo where nothing
Well,
is
he's
left
just going to
on board.
hope that it's able to go off this turn. And
Oh man, I don't like that.
yeah, it's not going to be the case. Xixo does have the Power of the Wild as an option to remove this Doomsayer, or Swipe as an option to remove this Doomsayer, so I really like the Power of the Wild. He gets a really solid board development going on.
I'm not sure about the... I don't understand why you would tap into Doomsayer. If that was even a line of play you would consider ever, then I don't know. It's really risky.
The Doomsayer did absorb, 7 damage, so it wasn't a total waste.
Agreed.
But he is at a slight or pretty substantial disadvantage here, and probably has to use the Shadow Bolt just to slow down this damage coming out.
He's not too far behind, right? Shadow Bolt into Kodo really works nicely on the board, so...
He's 8 stats behind, so...
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's,
I mean, like,
pretty far behind
his
for turn
removal
4.
luckily lines up okay. With the Shadow Bolt, with the Stampede and Kodo. The thing is, you want to be using Shadow Bolt on either Fandral with a coil or one of the Azure Drakes.
I'd
which
say Fandrel's probably coming out right here. Right here. If
The
the Shadow
nourish
Bolt's
is-
gone, how does your opponent even kill the Fandrel?
I think he might hold on to it for
alright.
more value.
Holds on for the guaranteed value. I would have been tempted there. It feels,
Yeah.
aside from like a Spellbreaker silencing it, that Fandrel's going to stick around. You can get the Nourish off and do some crazy things, but Xixo just going to play on curve, save the Fandrel to go with things on following turns like Power of the Wild and what have you.
Well, that's got me interested because
I think it's fine either
what does
way.
Fandral get punished by in a spot like this one?
Spellbreaker.
Siphon Souls.
Siphon Soul's a turn away.
Yeah, is Spellbreaker a disaster?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, that's not disaster, but it's
Sure.
it's the worst case scenario. If you hold Fandrel, it's always going to be able to get value though. So it's
Right.
like you can't fault. Fandrel's always going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
And picking up the Power of the Wild off the Drake the last turn sets up beautifully to let this Fandrel just do absolute crazy work on the board here.
Oh man, when you have to Reno this early because of what's on the board, it feels really
Well,
bad. It's just...
Reno seems like it might just be a losing play unless he's...
Yeah.
Is he dead right now on board? There's, let's see, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16... Yeah, there's 17 damage on the board. If you're not taunting or Renoing, you're going to die.
You've got to go for the Senjin and not even tap, I think, for safety purposes because...
Well, if you're going to go that defensive... I was saying, like, maybe you could squeeze out the Sylvanas, but there's too much damage on board to allow you to do that, so you might honestly just have to be Renoing here.
What do you think about Senjin, don't tap, Reno on 7, Twisting Nether on 8, and reset?
That
Because... I mean,
sounds terrible.
is this better?
I think this maybe it allows you to possibly do something, different next
Oh,
turn.
God.
Which wow, that's a
Nourish.
10-10. Or the Nourish can come out this turn.
Nourish Swipe. Nourish Swipe on the same
Wow.
turn. You can
Well,
set up a Nixia.
If you Nourish, you're probably gonna find like other cards to go with this. Like you're looking at maybe Savage Roar as potential. How much damage is Savage Roar? Honestly, Savage Roar would add 2, 4, 6,
would add
8,
10
10
damage on the
another
board.
damage.
Yeah.
To already your
You got
16 on the
16
board,
now.
so it'd be
Yeah.
26 damage and set up Swipe for lethal if you find it off the Nourish. That's pretty crazy. So,
Yeah, Powers of the Wild have been used. Raven Idol could also be one of those really
Sure.
clunky turns. Like clunky cards that suddenly just gives a win.
yeah, I don't think Xixo really needs to develop more onto the board, but
Agreed.
you never fault someone for playing a 10-10.
I'll be honest with you, though. Turn 7's probably the turn you want to be playing your big dudes if you're ever going to play them. Because if
Sure.
you can bait the Nether... One of the cool things about Anixia as well is that if you bait the Nether on 8, or force it, rather, not even bait, then Anixia comes down and,
Yeah.
that's a really rough minion to deal with without
I mean,
twisting Nether.
how does your opponent kill the 10-10? they just don't.
What is this?
They have to Siphon Soul it, then Fandrel's sticking around, and the Azure Drake sticking around, so that's another 9 guaranteed damage, basically.
Oh, man, Sylvanas
Wow.
has to be played with
Sylvanas
PO for the dream.
take the 10-10.
All right, let's do this, ladies and gentlemen. 33% to steal the big minion. And even then, there's a mulch possibly in Xixo's deck. So
Yeah.
it's not quite...
Oh, he gets the 10-10. All right. He's possibly in it because of that. He's possibly in it.
But the Fandral, still drawing 3 cards and giving 2 mana for flexible removal. He can still just use swipe with spell damage to help this out. But suddenly, Xixo's, the missed damage output by playing the 7/7 feels like suddenly the lethal may just be a little bit out of reach.
Yeah,
if things
Xixo's
don't
still
get
in a
perfect.
great spot.
Sure.
There we go. He's got the Wrath he can now use for 5 damage.
And a draw.
And a draw, yeah. It's pretty nice. The way that works, by the way, is when Fandral is doing the both choose one, it combines the damage of the rest. So it combines the 3 and the 1. So then when spell power gets applied to it, it changes from 4 to 5. It doesn't apply spell power to each of the facts, then combine it. It combines first, then spell power second.
Right. That's a really big deal when you're doing that. I think initially a lot of people were, messing it up, and it was a really big issue.
Well, they found out real quick after they messed up one time.
You make that mistake.
Yeah, you make it once,
time,
you don't make that mistake again.
So one of the things I kind of want to highlight here is the fact that Xieshuai, he does get a Nether if he wants to absolutely deal with the Fandral. I feel like it's done the damage it was going to do anyway, but there's really no good way to clean this up. Plus, he still needs to find lethal at some point.
Yeah, I think he's not even thinking about lethal right now. He's trying to
Sure,
stay alive right
but
now.
that's the thing is, even if he wipes this off, if the Druid has any follow-up, which is more than likely.
Yeah, he just drew 3 cards with Nourish, so I think he's got follow-up.
Yeah, I mean, that's follow-up if I've ever seen follow-up.
Onyxia's pretty good follow-up.
A Siphon Soul draw would, however, mean Xieshuai kills Onyxia, then uses Demon Wrath to clean everything up.
Sure, let's just pick up Savage Roar first then, and then the...
Force of Nature with Violet Teacher is not half bad.
After they board wipe your Onyxia, might as well reload with some Tree Ants.
I like that.
Yeah, not too bad. You just constantly, so many ways that this deck can flood the board, but he does choose to go with the Mark of Nature, so that after the Siphon Soul, I guess, he can reload with a big minion, and then Xieshuai is not going to be able to deal with the big minion. So he's anticipating here, Onyxia gets Siphon Souled, because that's the only way in Xieshuai's deck to really deal with an 8/8, and then, Hellfire or Demon Wrath comes down, then Xixo will be able to reload with, a ginormous Violet Teacher that then Xieshuai doesn't have the Siphon Soul any longer to deal with, and put pressure on that way.
All right, so Xieshuai's got the Demon Wrath here to obviously clean up all the 1/1s, but the only defensive play he's got after that is the Ascendant Shieldmaster, which, it's not a bad minion, but you've seen a lot of removal. There's a chance this guy lives. There's a chance. Onyxia doesn't connect.
You're really hoping for it.
Yeah, you have to be praying for it in this case.
Yeah.
So.
And it looks like, as it stands right now, Onyxia is unable to connect, but Xixo does have the ability to draw for cards to try and figure out a way for it to connect. You can also...
mulch, I guess, but you still can't deal 10 exactly.
Yeah, you would need to,
Innervate with Mulch and Mark of Nature.
Yeah, something crazy like that. So I find that maybe going for Nourish isn't the best line of play for finding that, but he's also got to try and set up a board that's not vulnerable to Hellfire or Shadow Flame. And
I mean,
so it might just be, playing
Emperor.
2 big minions
Yeah,
here.
you play 2 dudes and you kill the Senjin 1/1.
Yeah, and what does your opponent do?
I don't even know.
I'm sure.
That's really rough.
Xixo's thinking about it. He's leaning towards the Nourish at the moment. Gonna end up going with the Wild Growth, though. At the end of the sequence, your opponent's required to have an AoE, basically, to clear their board. And if they have Hellfire, the Violet Teacher's still going to be around to remake even more tokens on the back end of this.
And Mark of Nature
Mark
can
of
be used
Nature.
to keep your minions safe, so Onyxia does not die to anything that isn't Siphon Soul. If Siphon Soul had been there, it would have been played last turn.
I like this play by Xixo, for sure. There's, pretty much no combination besides the second Twisting Nether, but obviously there's no second Twisting Nether in Reno Lock that could clean up this board, so...
You gotta go for the obvious double taunt on the defensive Argus, Imgang Blast, Bran. It's not a bad defensive board, but it's likely not gonna get you very far if the opponent's got any more damage, and it looks like Swipe and Feral Rage will do short work of this, and Onyxia will connect. So...
That's a big dragon. When that connects to your face, you don't usually live. It's like the high main rule for Yogg Druid, right?
I mean, honestly, that was a really interesting game. I keep going back to that decision to play Reno early, because
Well, he had to. It wasn't a decision.
But no, but
it
he
was
could have
forced.
There was a a point where he played Senjin. If it lived, then you Reno for almost 30, and then you go for the Twisting Nether on a full board instead.
Well,
but you probably died a
But
roar.
then you're not interacting with the board at all on that turn.
Sure.
And Then a 10-10's punching you in the face because you have to Reno on that turn where you stole the 10-10.
Yeah.
So I feel like that would have been a little bit worse.
Yeah, with the 10-10 coming out. I don't know
Yeah.
if I would have played around the 1 of Ancient, but I guess no matter what happened there, that steal is what kept him in the game.
Yeah, I think it comes back to like the Doomsayer on 2 or not. Like, if
Yeah,
he
that
plays
was a crazy turn because
think-
it seemed...
I think if he plays Doomsayer on 2 and he's less greedy with it, not anticipating, he anticipated that Xixo's going to go, Wild Growth,
Sure.
and then he can play Doomsayer and it'll clean up the roots the following turn because he saw Xixo keep a bunch of cards. And when a Druid keeps a bunch of cards, you're like, yeah, he's got Wild Growth. That's why he's keeping a bunch of cards. Well, bad news bears for him. It wasn't Wild Growth. It was Innervate Mire Keeper that Xixo was holding onto, and that allowed Xixo to navigate quite nicely against the Doomsayer.
Yeah, honestly, the reasoning was definitely just Wild Growth. Like, there's no other reason why you would hold on to tap first and then Doomsayer. Unless, I guess maybe you want to fish out Demon Wrath, find some other minions like Imp Gang Boss.
Okay.
I'm not sure, man.
He took a risk in the early game in a matchup that's unfavored for him. So you can't really fault him too much at that because you're not expected to win Reno Lock versus Yogg Druid very often.
Yeah.
So he's saw Xixo keep a bunch of cards, which means you're not expected to win very often at all if Druid keeps a bunch of cards because you're afraid that Druid's going to do crazy Druid things. So he took a gamble and was like, all right, if it's Wild Growth, I can stay in the game by taking this gamble, eking out some extra value out of my Doomsayer, and he got super punished for it.
Yeah. Also, one of the big problems with that deck is he's not running a Jiraxxus version of Reno Lock, which means that essentially when he used the power of Whelming to steal the 10-10, like the possibilities of lethal were almost non-existent, in the deck.
He
has to
still
get 8/8s.
stabilize a Mountain Giant. You know?
He has to get 8/8s down on the board. Alex draws a Mountain and hope the Druid just gets absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
But he's going to re-queue the Reno Lock. He does find a matchup that's a bit more winnable, I think. Still tough, but winnable.
If anything, this is the best matchup for his Reno Lock out of Xixo's entire set of decks here. So
Yeah.
I imagine he's quite happy with this outcome of the lineups. So this is the matchup that, you bring Reno Lock to tournaments to target, slower warrior decks, and Xixo's got a slower warrior deck here for him to prey on.
There's no Jiraxxus, though, in the Reno Lock.
Sure,
so
yeah, that is
that's
costly.
a big deal. That
Yeah.
is a ton of potential damage and pressure you're surrendering by opting out of Jiraxxus.
But
So.
there still is Alexstrasza, which sets your opponent down to 15 into the 20 damage Leroy Power Overwhelming Faceless combo. So
If they don't have 40 armor.
if they don't have 40 armor, yeah.
Which is kind of what Cthulhu tries to do. So I think Xixo's decision to keep the Reno Lock alive and not ban it this time
and
is...
go for the Hunter instead was
Right.
now that he knows what's in the Reno Lock.
What's not in it.
Yeah, and namely being Jiraxxus, it makes a lot of sense for his ban choice here, and I like it by Xixo. I think it's a very smart ban.
Agreed. So the question is of whether or not you want to be pressuring this Reno Lock until the end of time. And the usual answer to that is yes.
Yeah, definitely want to get that Cthulhu's Chosen down right on curve. And Xixuai's got a really solid hand for Reno Lock. He hits his, one of Twilight Drake and one of Mountain Giant, two of the most influential cards in the matchup in the early stages by far. So really nice for him hitting those cards.
Yeah, Xieshuai is playing basically like a handlock in this opener. It feels like his deck is not even Reno at this stage. You can't even tell the difference between this and an old school handlock.
Yeah.
What's interesting about the Drake first is that it baits out any hard removal the opponent might be holding on to, so the Giant is a bit safer.
Yeah.
At least hopefully a bit safer.
And we see it doing that kind of here right now. The Giant is a little bit safer as, some of the removal of Xixo got used out, but if he played Giant on this board, it would simply just die to the onboard minions plus the War X trade, so he opts to wait on the Giant, just use Hellfire to clean up the board, and that gives Xixo the time just to develop the Justicar Trueheart here, which contests the Giant yet again with the X.
Yeah, I was going to say, Justicar Trueheart is one of those minions you want to be catching in the Hellfire when you end up playing it. In this case, though, you're giving it more value beyond the development of a new hero power.
And as Xixo here, he can honestly just trade Justicar and his War X and be totally fine on life. Because even though he's he knows there's a 20 damage combo potentially in the deck, he's got 30 healing in his hand. And the Justicar hero power already, which can allow him to just gain enormous amounts of armor as he tanks up throughout the game.
Right. One of the big things here is you need to keep in mind, for those who may not be familiar with the deck, the Brand plus Shield Bearer is ridiculous survivability against a deck that's trying to burst you down. So at this point, Xieshuai needs to find more ways to beat down Xixo through minions. But Alexstrasza's got very marginal use at this point, given the fact that Xixo's already at 17.
Yeah.
Lots
It's going to do 2 damage.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 damage, pay 9 mana. Maybe that's just what he needs late game. Sometimes it comes down to that, but I don't know. Alkali Pain's got a good turn here.
Yeah, Xixo gets to protect his shield bearer from the Doomsayer by playing, Acolyte of Pain plus the Ravaging Ghoul. Draw a card, clean that up.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Gets the armor up on the back of that too if he wants to put himself even further out of reach. I really like the decision from Xixo to keep the Reno lock alive. I don't know. It feels like an unexpected ban. We came into this not expecting it.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool. Oh wow.
Makes a lot of sense.
Are we seeing the Ravaging Ghoul double hit? What's the reasoning there? Huh. Mana count miscalculation?
Yeah, maybe he thought he had 9 mana. We see him
Play
kind
the
of
Acolyte.
face palm a little bit there as he does this.
Yikes!
And,
Shadow Flame! Coil! Oh my god, Xixo!
yeah, we'll have to ask him about that one. That's definitely a red flag there for sure. That
Oh my
seems like it would be a
God.
lot better to play the Acolyte rather than the Brand there.
Honestly, Acolyte with Brand and Ghoul, I get it.
Yeah,
But this is really unusual.
yeah, it's very strange.
Maybe the mana cost confuses him. He thought he was dragging out the Acolyte.
If you're going to go with this play, why not play the Brand second?
Or just the Acolyte.
Or just the Acolyte,
Instead
obviously.
of Brand, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the tempo Brand, I guess I could get behind, but
After the Ghoul.
after the Ghoul, if you're going to tempo Brand. So it seems like just a strict error there by Xixo miscalculating the amount of mana he has for the turn, and
Man.
maybe the nerves of the finals getting to him a little bit.
A little bit of a focus slip. We'll see exactly how that works out. Looks like Shadow Flame is going to be picked up, and this is precisely what Xixo played into
Yeah.
really hard, and just like that, what looked like a very solid position goes and falls apart.
Well, I still say he's probably ahead in the game. It's just
Sure.
not nearly as ahead as he could have been, and we're going to see him just set up the Doomsayer here to kind of get back the tempo that he just lost from that Shadow Flame. And
Alex Straza for fun.
Oh,
Kodo's pretty
Kodo.
sweet, and the beatdown keeps on coming.
yeah, Xixo is not going to be able to get the tempo back, and instead is going to be losing more tempo because of that Kodo pickup there.
And the combo's almost already there for Xieshuai. Now this Disciple of Cthulhu is cute, but it's not always going to do very much on a board like this one. It's
Yeah.
got too much in terms of health total.
Xixo really needs to start maybe cycling off that Acolyte and find a brawl. He's getting towards those situations where...
I mean, dude, this was really rough.
yeah, he
Grand turn must have been a mistake. It wasn't intentional. I think it was a lack of focus on the mana cost, or dragged out the Brand instead of the Acolyte. I
Yeah.
feel like it was just a slip up.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it was a slip-up, and now he's just got to figure out how is he going to recover from that slip-up in this situation that he's now placed himself in when he went from, being dominantly ahead to being behind.
Yeah. The funny thing is I can't even tell if it was intentional. Like I don't even know if he wanted to play Brand or just Acolyte, and he just dragged the wrong card. It's so silly.
Yeah.
It is silly. Well, Xixo does armor up to 43 health here. Pretty safe, but again, like the damage from the combo is 20.
Yeah, but the combo can't really... Well, the combo can actually happen because Xieshuai has held on to the coin.
Yeah.
So since he still has the coin, he can do the combo without any Emperor procs, which is definitely something to keep track of, because a lot of the times people don't play around the combo until they see the Emperor come down. So Xieshuai holding on the coin allows his combo to be a lot more flexible.
You're not using that hero power anytime soon.
Yeah.
Although it's a 5-4, so right now the armor count for Xixo decreases really rapidly as long as that's on the board and gets to hit.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, this is rough.
Yeah, Xixo really needs to start cycling that Acolyte to find the brawls that he needs to keep the board under control, and just single target removal as well, just like shield slams and executes.
Anything goes.
Anything, yeah. His hand is
Honestly,
really
yeah.
dead right now.
So Xixo's got the Harrison Jones in hand. One of the things that could give us a hint that he maybe doesn't know there's no Jiraxis is if he never plays Harrison. Maybe
Okay.
there's that uncertainty still in his mind.
Xieshuai extends very aggressively onto the board here. Maybe Xieshuai believes that there is no brawl. He's kind of picking up on that by some sort of read by how Xixo has been touching his cards. We see there a 12.5% chance for Xixo to draw a brawl. He's got 2 in his deck.
So 20 cards left at this stage. I'd say it's 1 and 8, so he's got 16 left.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see Xixo putting out the Gorehowl. Very important card for him to have here, because without Brawl, you just cannot catch up on the board. Now, the life tap is a very huge liability.
Oh, man. Xieshuai
I feel
has
like
the
that might have
full
been
20 damage combo, but using the coin last turn makes
I'm
it so
not
it's
sure.
unavailable for him now until he finds Emperor Thorsan.
But
So
he does. I mean, even Leroy with PO is still a bit of burst. If this board sticks around, that might be enough at some point.
Yeah,
It might turn out to be
getting
enough.
close, but
Not quite.
nowhere near enough yet. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 32 health on this warrior right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Acolyte of Pain cycle. You can get the shield slam that cleans up the board very nicely. Xixo back on this board, a little bit ahead.
Yeah, he's not in a bad spot
Yeah.
by any means. I imagine he just like chops down the Kodo and armors, expecting Xieshuai to trade off the Void Crusher because he wants to be using his hero power as much as possible. That's the real advantage that the Control Warlock archetypes have against the Control Warrior archetype is, their hero power allows them to play these grindy games so effectively.
But I mean, if you just life tap, it kills itself and then kills a random minion. So you could kill the Acolyte, then do that.
Okay.
If you really want to. But I almost feel like the value you get from punching all that armor off the warrior before the combo hits.
You could also go face and then life tap to try and deny the
card
draw off
Sure.
the Acolyte of Pain. Just crush it instead of killing it.
You can play Cult Apothecary on a board like this. It's one of the
The
more
prime-
populated boards of Cthulhu Warrior at this
Sure.
stage of the game.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, Spellbreaker, the nice card draw too. So you could play,
Yeah. For sure.
even more into this if you want.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing like Silence the Acolyte, trade the 5/3 into the 3/3. We haven't seen, Sylvanas come out from Xixo's side yet, so that's one of those prime Spellbreaker targets that you may want to be holding on to it for, but
That's
denying
fair.
card draw is really good against Control Warrior.
At this point of the game too, it feels like the Warrior's just starving for options.
Mhm.
At this point, you've seen a card be in his hand for a long time. You expect it to be Cthulhu most of the time, I think. When that Harrison Jones comes out, it might be a surprise
And
as a tempo play.
Xieshuai not even going for any taps here, just going the full tempo play, just playing out all of the minions he can. He pretty much knows that there's no brawl in the hand of Xixo right now, by the way Xixo has been playing this game. He's just presented Xixo with like 6 brawlable boards by this point, pretty much, so
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense that he's taking this aggressive line and just getting this little bit of value out of his minions as he can. And
That wasn't Cthulhu, so now Xieshuai knows that this is Harrison Jones. Is going to be what he has to beat. It's not really that big of a threat, though. What's interesting is that at 28 health, Xixo is still very healthy against combo, but
Yeah.
it's not too far from taking him down. It comes down to one more minion sticking for Xieshuai and punching.
yeah, sometimes that 8 health is just really hard to cut
for
through.
Reno
yeah.
Lock, yeah, and it keeps stacking
It
up
keeps
too.
stacking up. This is
Speaking
the
of that,
first shield block for Xixo, so he has another shield block in the deck to gain more life even. Deathwing isn't the card you really want in this matchup, kind of like ever really, especially not when you're sitting on Shield Slam, Execute. He really wants to find some Execute activators.
Deals is great there for Xieshuai. It's going to let him remove the weapon that maybe Xixo at this point has already gotten a lot of value of, but could have still extracted a bit more. Double kill on the weapon.
Double kill.
Yeah,
He gets to kill the weapon and then spit slime an imaginary weapon, right?
the value is real.
And Xixo immediately top decks the weapon to replace his
Current weapon.
lost weapon. But if he kills the Ooze, do you think he shield slams the Bran? How afraid of you are Bran Bronzebeard in this matchup?
I don't know how afraid of you, Bronzebeard, matchup this is, but otherwise, I think
You know what I meant. How
I know
scary
far
is
that. I agree.
Bran? Like, there's
Absolute-
some matchups he's really scary. I don't think Reno Lock's Bran is as scary as, like...
There's no abusive as far as
Yeah.
we've seen. Peddler's one of those problems.
Okay, that could give a lot of POs
Peddler's
for the,
yeah, it's
the,
really
the
scary.
combo.
But
All
I mean,
right.
what else are
Is
you
it worth
afraid
a
of?
shield slam, though?
That's a really precious card.
Yeah.
And you have no execute enablers besides your second weapon charge. You
Yeah.
might just wait here. And
I think you have to ignore it.
yeah, you have brawl still too, so let's not forget about those.
I think shield slam's just too good to waste on the Bran.
Agreed. I mean, you're still going off of 38 health. This brand can't possibly be that good.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Oh wow, that's
It-
actually. Why not refreshment vendor first,
And then
and
Alan-
then use Alex Straw the next turn?
Sure. I think he just wants to get a big minion out. I don't know.
Sure.
He's not really picking up on the hesitation of Xixo there at the end. Xixo is definitely hesitating on thinking about removing the brand somehow. So I
Yeah.
feel like, as Xieshuai, he should have picked up that there's a shield slam present. But he wasn't able to do so. Or he just didn't care.
So refreshment vendor is now unplayable, by the way. I don't know. Maybe I would have played a bit slower. There's time.
Yeah, Refreshment Vendor is a dead card in his hand as
Yeah, I might have played it before, Alex.
Healing Xixo for 8 is pretty questionable.
And there we go. The combo
combo.
pieces have been assembled, and the Exodia will eventually hit. I just don't know if it's going to be enough to kill Xixo right now. Oh, Cthulhu.
Currently, it doesn't cut through the armor, so
Yeah.
it's not enough as of yet, but it could quickly become enough if, like, Peddler's picked up. You know, you can get an additional 8 with another Power Overwhelming.
Yeah, Xixo,
Or
by the
2.
way, we were discussing the Doomcaller versus Deathwing choice earlier. One of the big problems with Doomcaller is if Sylvanas ever comes down and steals Cthulhu, you're done for.
Yeah,
You can never use it, whereas Deathwing lets you take it, or take the board back, rather. So how do you play that? You kind of have to execute, or do you just Cthulhu everything down?
Looks like you Cthulhu everything down. There's only 6 health. You got 12 missiles. Odds are you're going to clear everything up, and now you got this massive Cthulhu out there.
31 health right there, 4-6-0. Still out of reach for combo, and he's able to deflect the follow-ups. Wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. Ignore Sylvanas.
Xieshuai is taking the Cthulhu, so
Yeah.
maybe Xieshuai isn't aware that Xixo's not running Doomcaller. This play heavily signals that,
He doesn't know it.
you know.
Or he just really wants to steal the 12-12. In this
Yeah.
case, that's a really good curve for Xixo. Picks up something to play after the Armor Up Shield Slam Twin Emperors. That's really
Wow.
good.
Yeah, an excellent pickup there. Fills out his curve quite nicely. Takes care of that nasty Cthulhu and
More importantly,
loads up the board.
good luck going through this with your combo, sir.
And
You've used Twisting Nether, you've used Shadow Flame.
Yeah.
Have fun.
He's got Hellfire left, right? And that's his last card. And he's tapping
Hellfire
here.
was used early.
Oh, no, Rag is his last card. Okay.
He used Hellfire very early
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
I
4-2 and the
remember. I
2-1.
remember now.
That was nuts.
So Rag is his very last card. It's able to start making its way through these taunts.
Oh, man.
So Xixo should know at this point, you know, every card in Xieshuai's hand. He can pin it on, you know, Leroy Power Overwhelming, Faceless, obviously. Mortal Coils in every Reno lock. Demon Rats in every Reno lock. Renos in every Reno lock. And then, you know, the Peddler and the Refreshment Vendor. So do you
kinda
ever
mapped out.
feel, like, comfortable enough Deathwinging this Ragnaros? Or
just
honestly,
Sylvanas
with
to
Sylvanas,
steal.
yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
What comes out? There's
Well,
no Shadow Flame
The
left.
scary part if you Sylvanas to steal is your opponent, I guess, could Faceless the Sylvanas and then Power Overwhelming it and then take the Sylvanas from you.
And then you can't play
And
Deathwing
then
ever.
you can't Deathwing unless you find
Maybe you just trade with Execute and wait it out then. He's in fatigue. Good luck with your Reno
Yeah.
win. Then you play Sylv. Maybe.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind playing Sylv now that your opponent
It's-
can take it though, and again set up that spot where you can't play Deathwing anymore. But
But he's got
they
brawls.
lose their combo
And they're dead.
yeah, they're only doing 1 damage a turn with the Sylvanas, right? Yeah.
You got brawls, so.
Sure, makes some sense.
Dark Peddler. Another PO would actually enable a double combo.
Ooh,
Oh my
there we go.
goodness.
The
That's
double combo
28.
28. It's
Yeah.
still not even close to enough. He needs to get more chip damage in with minions somehow.
Oh man. All right.
So
You just have to put. Actually, it actually lets you use the Faceless with the first PO, and you're still maintaining like a 10 damage burst.
I guess
This Refreshment Vendor would. I mean, I don't know why it was played so late. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason why Alex draws us so quickly.
Well, he just was hoping the 8/8 would connect, I imagine.
Yeah, that's probably what.
He's played a bomb almost every turn. He's really just trying to bomb train Xixo in the middle stages of the game, and it didn't work out for him as Xixo just kept having answer after answer. And still has answers now, even though Xieshuai is all the way in fatigue. Xixo's Warrior deck just outlasted the Reno Lock deck because the Reno Lock's missing some of the cards that make it so favorable against Warrior, such as Jiraxis and N'Zoth.
Jiraxis is really key in the matchup. If you're playing the combo list, number one, it's a little bit worse, I guess, against the aggro list, right? Since you're probably going to have more dead cards. But Alex Strazo falls in that category as well. So you do have to make a call as far as which one you want to be playing. I don't know. I feel like this matchup was maybe misinformation from
This
one or
is-
two sides.
Xixo's ban here working out quite nicely for him, you know.
Yeah.
The last time he banned the Warlock, now that he's gotten some more information about the Warlock, you see him just very comfortable taking this matchup on just because he knows the Warlock deck and is able to, you know, abuse it.
You know
So,
what?
Very high level play from Xixo. Ability to read his opponent's decks, figure things out as the tournament's been progressing, and
Who cares about Temple Bran?
who cares about Temple Brand? He still makes it.
That was a brilliant Cthulhu Warrior play there. by Xixo. I really like that. I can't help but feel like the Reno, cutting the Jiraxis is not a mistake, depending on what you're playing against. But it really lowers the odds of you winning those awkward matchups where you otherwise would have a single card winning the game.
Yeah, that's why a lot of players tend to favor Jiraxis over Alexstrasza, just because they both kind of do very similar purposes in a lot of matchups, but more often than not, Jiraxis wins you more matchups overall than Alexstrasza just single-handedly wins.
Right.
Which is because Jiraxis basically wins you every warrior control matchup. Just all the warriors you win against and priest you win against by default. You probably win against priest anyway.
Anyway, I was going to say it helps more.
It helps more, sure. Yeah. Make it even more one-sided,
Yeah, I kind of like the whole play there. Either way, Xixo locks out the Warriors, so the ban was correct. Xieshuai is going to have to replay that Reno Warlock. It's not necessarily the worst deck to have, but Zoo's pretty good to just rush it down, honestly.
The Zoo from Xixo has been banned, so he's left with the Tempo Mage that's pretty good at rushing it down as well.
Yeah, he's playing, he's got more minions.
The mid-range Shaman, which isn't good at rushing it down, but it's good at bursting it. The mid-range Shaman, I think it includes Bloodlust, right?
I don't think this one includes
Bloodlust,
it, but there's the Valiance. And he's playing double Drake, by the way, which a lot of...
great against Reno Lock.
Yeah, some people have actually been cutting Drakes that are shot. Well, most people. A lot of people have. So, relying on double Mana Tide sometimes a bit on the greedy side and slow side, but, it's a choice you can make in that case. So, it's going to be the Warrior from Xieshuai this time. Yeah, against the Shaman.
The Dragon Warrior from Xieshuai, is it? Yeah, the Dragon Warrior, typically speaking, super favored against all forms of Shaman, mid-range Shaman included in that. Coin Totem Golem for Xixo. I really like Coin Totem Golem, even when you have the Tonal Shrug there, because the curve you want to be following on the coin with Shaman almost every time is you want to go coin the Totem Golem, follow up with the 1-drop, then follow up with the 3-drop. I think that's the optimal way to play the curve. And
you only get punished by this one play on
this
curve.
one play, yeah. That's the only way that he can actually deal with the Totem Golem, really. Unless he has, like, War Axe Inner Rage, if that's in his deck or something. So.
And you only get punished for the Tunnel Shrug with that one play. I mean, the Fiery War Axe also works very well. And
the Fiery War Axe works very well.
Slam is even better.
Slam works well. I don't know if Slam's necessarily better than Ghoul. Ghoul, your 2/2 dies, but you get a 3/3.
But now you can deal. You can kill a wolf here if it comes out, and then you have a 3/3 contest the second one.
And you can execute the other one even if you wanted to go full board clear. Then your opponent only has 2 mana to develop.
And you have the Blackwing Corruptor in this case, followed by the Crusher. So I guess that might work out.
Yeah. We do see him just opt to go the more passive route and just go with the Slam here.
Huh.
And hits the War Axe. That was the play.
That was like, you know what? I feel like this is subpar, but never mind.
I did feel like that was subpar as well until he hit the War Axe.
And then suddenly the War Axe comes out.
That was the best play.
Very good play there by Xieshuai. Played that perfectly.
Read the top of his deck like a god.
Knew that it had to come out, right?
Just brilliant.
Perfect
Absolutely. I don't know how he did it.
The Tournament of the Century.
The Tournament of the Century.
So we've got the Blackwing Corruptor coming out on curve. That's a very good play just in general to have. It's very tough for Shaman to deal 4 unless they have the Stormcrack or spell damage established already with Bolt.
Yeah.
So
I think you go for the totem roll here. If you hit spell power, you bolt it. If not, you maybe play things from below.
Yeah.
Or discover a play from there. But easiest totem roll. The Tournament
of the Century. These plays, man, they're
on top of it.
They know
are
what's
crushing
up.
it.
They know what's up. I wouldn't argue. You can't argue with these guys.
No, you can't.
They know what they're doing.
They know exactly what they're doing.
Double Ghoul, Tournament
of the Century. It's absolutely insane. You know?
I mean, this is a really good play, actually, from Xieshuai. Like, how the hell do you do this? On the
what
Overload.
What makes it so great is the Overload. Yeah, the Fire Elemental can no longer come down on one of these 3/3s. You squeezed them out there before the Fire Elemental can punish you. So it lines up quite nicely.
Yeah.
Beautiful play for sure.
Xixo's still going to have to develop totems. He can actually go double totem with Thing from Below on the end of it. It's not bad, but it just kind of feels a bit weird.
Yeah,
Flame Tongue with no value.
It's not really, like a Tournament of the Century sort of play, but
it's all right.
It's all right,
It's an all right play, but
he's going to hold back the Flame Tongue. It looks like he's contemplating it.
I mean, I don't dislike holding it back. It's perfectly fine by me. The only thing it really lets you do is trade away that spell damage totem into the Ghoul, but that's assuming the opponent doesn't use the axe or execute your minion.
Yeah, I feel like if you play it, it is most likely going to die for free, right?
Right.
So, because even on board, it dies for free. Your opponent just trades in a 3/2 and War Axes, and then can kill it for free. So
it's a bad Holy Light.
Yeah,
you just heal for 3.
You heal for 3 and deal 2 additional damage to your opponent's face. So it's not great.
Yeah, it's a bad bash. And just like this, you still deal 5. And you keep the spell damage totem, force the trade. Now he's really looking for a Lightning Storm at some point because he does play the card in his deck. He opted to bring a mid-range list, which is kind of unusual given what we know of Xixo.
For sure, yeah, a little unusual indeed.
Oh man.
And Dragon Warrior is just doing what Dragon Warrior does here, and it's
Poison
bringing
Blade?
the beat down.
The
Poison Blade's-
fact that it works here is ridiculous.
It's not too bad in Warrior. Is he killing the Fire Elemental?
Sure, execute it.
Execute. Oh yeah.
I mean, you keep
obviously.
life tapping and buffing that
Yeah.
weapon.
Yeah, it's pretty good in Warrior and in Warlock.
In Warlock, it's also pretty sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, I would play Poison Blade in my Warlock deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blade on curve.
Sure.
Good to go. Harrison
Start
Jones just
tapping the
gets
whole
better
game.
though.
Harrison Jones would get better, but
Yeah.
you know who keeps Harrison Jones against Warlock?
Yeah, you never phase Dractus early enough,
Yeah.
so
I
might
guess
as well.
Poison Blade also isn't for Warlock, so there's a reason.
Well, you could get Malkorok from at least Starseeker in your Reno lock.
Okay. You're going deep, man. You're going deep.
Well, I kind of have to because I can't find a justification for Poison Blade and Warlock. That being said, look at this weapon. It doesn't look like much, but
It's
it's one of
charging
those
up.
cases. But like at some point, it'll be like 4 or 5
Yeah.
attack, and then you can start picking off any minion
Yeah.
in the Shaman deck.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy soon.
Assuming you haven't won by then, which you just might.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good start and a pretty good position on the board here, so it's not unreasonable for him to win by that point, but it's a nice fail-safe just in case, you know?
Yeah, I mean, one of the weird things here is that the Totem Golem runs into a frog, which is not something you want to see happen.
Yeah, he could have traded with the Totem Golem there to play around Storm a little bit more aggressively, but opts to, prioritize getting the face damage, and that's most likely because his hand is running thin.
Yep.
And there were boards earlier that he had set up that Xixo, could have reasonably considered
Dismantled.
storming. Yeah, so he's like, well, he didn't have Storm earlier, he probably still doesn't have Storm, and my hand's running out of cards. I need to get this damage in. So
Yeah.
he opts going face. I don't mind it. I think
Yeah.
it's a pretty solid line of play there from Xieshuai.
Xixo is going to be considering the damage output. He's looking right now, like, the frothing goes up to 4, so he's looking at 8, 11,
Yeah.
3 more, so 15 damage on board right there for Xieshuai. Garrison Commander would be lethal.
Yeah, he was thinking about not attacking the frog to limit the damage that was coming in, and
And just like
tap
that.
into Grom. That's gonna close it out.
Yeah. Good Fiery War Axe to make it to the mid game there by Xieshuai. I think that Fiery War Axe might have actually won the game like in a very big way after the slam play. I think
Otherwise-
Xixo had a better follow up if it wasn't for that, like a really good follow up.
Yeah, he wasn't in a bad spot, though, if he didn't hit anything there. He was definitely still in a commanding lead, and it's a favorable matchup for him. And he has the life tap to just constantly keep getting resources if Xixo has the removal. There's a few situations where Xixo really needed to have a Storm.
Never
Xixo
got it.
Maybe had a Storm. I guess he could try and keep up, but that matchup is so brutal for mid-range Shaman. It is by
Yeah.
far one of the worst matchups for mid-range Shaman out of all the possible matchups for mid-range Shaman in the game of Hearthstone.
What the funny part about it, I think, is just that you have Flame Tongues and Mana Tide and totems that have 0 attack, and everything in the Warrior deck seems to deal either 3 damage. Alistair's Champion, you've got the Ghoul that stays around. So anytime you play one of those totems and it doesn't have the attack from Thunderblood Valiant, it just dies for free.
it dies
Every
for
single
free.
time. So many of your cards just die for free.
Yeah.
It feels bad, man.
The Kor'kron Elite comes in and just snipes off your Mana Tides and
Tides,
Flame
yep.
Tongues, and then Alexstrasza's Champion as well. So many Chargers, and
Blackwing Corruptor.
Blackwing Corruptor snipes all of your stuff, man.
Everything, dude.
It's
Everything
all getting
dies.
sniped. You're just raining bullets on you.
But, I mean, it was an expected win for Xieshuai. That deck was likely going to win against the mid-range. So we're going to keep on with the series. There is still that Shaman from Xieshuai that he's going to have to play. The Reno Lock, man, you got to make that deck work somewhere.
Yeah, not yet, though. He's leaving it on vacation for a little bit, as he wasn't happy with its performance through the first 2 games where Xixo was able to pick it apart. So he queues up here with the Cthulhu Druid versus the mid-range Shaman. You have to give the edge slightly towards the mid-range Shaman in this matchup, I think.
If you go in blind, yes. But with a hand like this, the double innervate
Yeah.
can definitely put a lot of pressure. You need the Hex. Not sure how often you keep it on your mulligan, though. I mean, the Wild Growth, he's on the coin, right? The Druid's on the coin.
Depends how much information Xieshuai is going to reveal here. We do see Xieshuai locks in his mulligan
Keeps
at
this.
keeping 4 cards. When
Yeah.
you see your Druid opponent keep 4 cards, you hold on to the Hex. That's a misplay by Xieshuai there, not roping out the mulligan. He could have waited until the very, very end, never revealed the fact that he was keeping 4 cards, and then Xixo would have most likely mulliganed away the Hex.
And just like that, I think we're going to see a double Innervate play on the coin for Dark Araco. I have nothing against the fact that he's doing this, but usually when you use up double Innervate and the coin, you just have terrible follow-ups on 2.
Well, he has 3 plays, though, so it's not too bad.
Sure.
He's most likely going to be able to stabilize a brand behind this, and he's going to be able to just either gobble that Tunnel Trog if he wants or just start putting on a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And I would recommend, I guess, killing the Tunnel Trog. That guy grows.
It only takes a Lightning Bolt to make your life a bit miserable.
And here is where Xieshuai gets punished for the fact that he snap-kept his mulligan without roping it out. He gave Xixo the information that he was keeping 4 cards, and Xixo absolutely destroys him for giving him that information because Xixo was able to keep the Hex off the mulligan because he knew that.
He's got 2 frogs even, which is even better because he plays the Tunnel Trog behind that, has the Feral Spirit and the Tusker Totemic to keep going. What do you do with that Hex?
I don't know if you want to Hex the brand. That's a tough call to make.
Yeah,
I think Feral Spirits is much more likely to be the play, yeah.
Yeah, so the only thing that gets played here that punishes you is Disciple. Cthulhu's Chosen is not that big of a deal. Swipe's an issue, but that's just because it's Swipe.
Yeah, he knows the Cthulhu's going to be at 10 regardless if there's a brand effect going on the second Cthulhu buffer or not, because Xieshuai's Cthulhu's already at 9, so it's not too big of a deal, the brand buffs, aside from the fact of Disciple being able to pick something off potentially for free.
Right. Spell Damage Totem, not a bad one to have when you've got a Storm possibly coming up if too many minions land on the board. So there's the Disciple of Cthulhu, which, again, helps clean up the board quite a bit. But I like that Azure Drake quite a lot, man.
I like it, yeah. I either like the Azure Drake or, hiding brand behind maybe
Druid of the
Druid of the
Claw.
Claw. I don't
There's a lot of plays, man.
Wow.
You can clean this up.
Interesting. He really opts the clear here. Is he unaware that it's mid-range? Maybe thinks it's aggressive.
No, he knows what it is.
He knows what it is?
He knows what it is.
I don't know. I think I would have tempted to go with the Azure Drake there.
Agreed. I think the card draw is very important, especially since you've committed double Innervate, which is a lot of card usage as a second player. Okay, that's a very interesting play because it telegraphs that you're going to finish this guy off with either a swipe, so you're trying to represent a bluff, or you're going to be using your hero power again with a 4-drop on turn 6.
Yeah, and
It's
with
one or the
the
other.
Taunt Totem being rolled here, that allows Xixo to cleanly storm this board off and go face. Xieshuai was trying to play around the storm by getting that hero power in there, just making sure that he could clear off the minion. And unable to clear off the minion now that Xixo was able to get taunt. He had taunt or healing as options to kind of play around Xieshuai's attack, yeah.
So it's not usually the biggest deal, but these are the types of attacks that can either be amazing as they're setting up.
Well, yeah, I liked the setup from Xieshuai.
Right, exactly.
I think it was good. He got punished for it, but I still think it's in his favor not to be punished for it.
Yep.
And it sets up to play around Storm, and
yeah, I don't dislike it at all.
it was very nice. When you have a very stormable board, might as well play around Storm. Midrange Shaman runs 2 of them. Seemed like a solid line of play.
And, no Hex being used again, which makes a lot of sense. I mean,
Yeah, it's
you've
only
seen
a
a swipe
4-2.
as well, so that 3-1 might just live.
Yeah. There was no swipe the previous turn when the 3-1 was laying around, but
It could come out.
It
So
could come out.
that's the scare. That's the big scare. Oh, man.
that's a good draw.
That's a very good draw there from Xieshuai.
Not too shabby.
And a 15-15 Cthulhu. Xixo might start wondering if there is a Cthulhu in the hand, because suddenly that's why the Hex is staying there for a long time.
Well, he just hasn't found that many big minions to Hex yet. There's so many big minions in the Cthulhu Druid deck. There's Rag. There's another 5/7.
Yeah, Dark Arakoa.
Dark Arakoa. There's Cthulhu himself. Just a lot of juicy targets for Hex. But yeah, I was almost tempted to say, hexing one of these might be correct, as Xixo's starting to run out of resources.
Yeah, and
quite
Xieshuai
quickly.
has a ton of them. It feels like the Azure Drake replenishing the hand here on the back. Oh my god!
Wow.
If there's a coffin with Xixo's name on it, it just came up.
Yeah, for real.
Oh,
And
wow.
he's just completely out of resources now.
Honestly, if the last draw had been a Thunderblood Valiant, this looked a little bit better because suddenly the trades up occurred, that 4-6 died, and maybe then you can find even more follow-up
Yeah.
pressure. But now you're forced to Hex.
To try and not die.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's just completely out of resources, and Xieshuai, tons of gas left in the tank.
Oh,
And
6-6
here
with
comes
4-6
all
with
of it.
charge.
Yeah,
What's the form? Lion form or War Bear form?
we'll go with War Bear form. That sounds more badass.
I don't even know what it is. It's like a wolf. So wait, it's bear form or cat form? So what's that one? Tiger form?
Bearcat.
Ah. I like the reasoning. The bear cat form.
Yeah, it's a man bear pig.
It never is. It's a mythical thing.
It's a mythical creature.
Whoever told you that existed,
Oh, there's South Park.
just sue them.
Just sue them.
Dude, Raven Idol off of Fangel is pretty good.
Time to get a nourish off of it, right? Oh, he goes for minion, gets the Dark Iron.
Wait, he got offered 2 Dark Iron Dwarfs. He had a Black Knight. Take a Black Knight. Oh, Wisps.
There we go. That's
now
a good
we're
one.
talking, ladies and gents. And down goes Xixo. And
Wow.
Xieshuai wins this one, friend. Bad matchup for Xieshuai, but still takes it.
Yeah, it's not that bad of a matchup, I don't think so.
Maybe like 55-45.
Something
60-40
like that.
depends on the
I don't know about
the openers.
60-40.
I don't know, man. Hex is really good, but I guess the removal in
Yeah.
Cthulhu Druid just gets the job done.
Xieshuai had a great hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though he kind of choreographed the fact that he had, 2 innervates, because what other 4 cards do you keep as Druid besides double innervate hands?
Wild Growth, Innervate, Fandral, something.
Okay, yeah, Fangel hands. You can't beat Fangel hands, though. The card's just kind of busted when you get the right hands for it, so...
But it's a fun and interactive legendary.
What are you talking... No. Okay, sure.
I read Reddit.
I read Reddit, too. Yeah, that's what the Reddit community has deemed it, and they want more cards like it. As well as more
I'd
cards
love
like Flame Wreath Faceless.
Honestly, dude, I wish they would print like more Undertakers and more Dr. Booms and more Potted Shredders. Will make the game a lot better. I'm sad. We need more of those.
Terrific. You heard it here first from Noxious. That's what we need in the game of Hearthstone. You need Piloted Shredders, Dr. Boom, 7/7s,
For
and
4 mana.
Fandrals. Sick.
Sick game.
Sick game.
Also would like to commission an Innervate for my Priest.
Innervate for Priest. They got
Please.
Circle of Healing. It's kind of like the Innervative Healing. Anyway, back to the game. We're getting kind of on a tangent here.
It's fine, though.
It's not fine.
Sure it is, because that Shaman from Xieshuai still needs to win against matchups that I'm not sure it's got like a huge edge against in any case. I guess the Mage is one of the more
Yeah, it's got the
winnable
ability
ones.
to get the win against the Mage. I'd say the Shaman is even favored against the Mage, but it's definitely not favored against Xixo's mid-range Shaman. We've seen consistently throughout the tournament Xixo able to get wins with his mid-range Shaman against aggressive Shamans.
Yeah.
And now we have the Reno Lack coming up against the Tempo Mage of Xixo. I'd have to say that the Tempo Mage has a bit of an edge here, as it is able to get those really aggressive starts that, without Dark Bomb, Reno Lack can oftentimes struggle at dealing with.
Yeah, the Mana Worm is
Wow,
also...
he keeps Mountain Giant off the mulligan.
I'm not
Maybe
sure.
expecting a slow start from Xixo, but that seems like a very greedy keep when you should, honestly, I think, looking for removal for what your opponent's looking for, which would be, Mana Worms and 3/2s.
What did he throw back? He kept the Demon Wrath, right?
He kept the Demon Wrath. for
Demon
sure.
Wrath is actually one of those ways in which
You can deal with
You can
it.
deal with Cold Sorcerer, you can deal with Sorcerer's Apprentices, so really the Mana Worm is the other card left over that you have to handle.
Sure. Maybe he just feels like Demon Wrath's good enough for early game removal on his own that he can survive to Mountain Giant just on the back of Demon Wrath.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it seems to indicate. I mean,
Sure.
there's Imp-Gang Boss, Doomsayer in the deck as well. You
I
could
guess
draw.
it's not.
Oh my god,
It's not unrealistic.
that is insane.
Hey, here is Xixo. He has the ability to, coin Flamewaker if he wanted to. That's really vulnerable to Shadow Bolt. So we see him just drop the Sorcerer's Apprentice out there, pass, hold on to the coin for the Flamewaker. He's got the ability to, Flamewaker coin Mirror Images the following turn if he so desires.
Okay, so Xieshuai does not have Hellfire. Xixo doesn't know that.
He does
but
not know that.
Quite frankly, I'm not even sure if it's a thing you would even worry about. Now, Xieshuai holds on to Demon Wrath, lets the Apprentice live, hopes everything goes well, but I got bad news, man.
Wow,
No.
2 fireballs already. Xixo is probably look to try and kill this guy before
He's vomiting all his hand.
before turn 6. Yeah.
So we're talking 2 damage here, an extra
Coin Frostbolt
4,
face. I think
7.
every time here.
Yeah,
It's
everything.
so much damage.
GG.
Holy smokes.
That Mana Worm is growing to unbelievable sizes.
Talk about explosive. And Xieshuai thought he was going to live till Mountain Giant this time. If Mountain Giant comes down, he's just dead on board.
Yeah, I mean, even if you pick up Immortal Coral to go with Demon Wrath...
Even if he had Hellfire, he's dead on board.
Yeah, this is essentially...
He needs Reno, and it needs to cost 4.
And he needs his opponent to have nothing in hand with...
Holy smokes.
I mean, that's it. Just like, turn 4 kill.
Turn 4 overkill by a billion. Look at this.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah, he's got 6 overkill on turn 4.
This is kind of like a coin Alexstrada's champion into Alexstrada's champion into Fiery War,
Yeah.
Axe punching you down, and then you're dead on 4
I haven't
after
seen
Korkron.
anybody die faster than that except to Whirling Zap-O-Matic. That's the only
It's
card
been
I've seen people
forever.
kill people that fast.
God, that's been a while.
Yeah.
And what is this? I can't help but
Absolutely
feel like
crazy.
that giant keep was really
It was greedy for sure, but
Yeah.
I don't think it mattered. I don't think it mattered, if I'm honest with you, Noxious.
Yeah, I
Maybe
guess
if it was
so.
a Doomsayer, I guess.
Sure.
If it was a Doomsayer, it
Mattered
could have
a ton.
mattered. It
Mattered
mattered
a
a
ton,
ton. But, you know, Mountain Giant's not going to save you when your opponent's doing that.
Well, that's a sudden reseizing of the lead by Xixo. I mean, it kind of went
He
up
lost-
2-0,
yeah, yeah.
2-2, 3-2 right
Yeah.
away, locking it up.
He did not like being tied, that's for sure.
Yeah,
He jumped right back on that horse and took a game back.
but midrange Shaman proved to be the downfall of Hoi in the event, and Xixo's
Well,
had it hasn't been-
Xixo has, so far throughout the course of the event, a 100% win rate with mid-range Shaman against aggro Shaman.
Yep.
And we know Xieshuai still has aggro Shaman remaining in his lineup, so you have to give the edge to Xixo here. You expect that matchup to go in his favor, so if Xieshuai, you know, cues that up. And also he has Reno Lock, and I'd say Reno Lock is an easy matchup for mid-range Shaman to take.
hero powered button.
Hero
and,
power button all day.
and then
they're
Hellfire,
afraid. Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, they have to Hellfire a bunch of totems and get no value out of it. You just extend the game, play very slowly, and
Yeah.
grind them out. He doesn't even have Jiraxis or anything to, you know, even if you'd want to even play Jiraxis in the matchup. But
It
like,
can be very difficult to justify, but yeah, it's one of those
he's got no
cases.
N'Zoth or anything that really outvalue him, so he really relies on creating a window of opportunity where the Shaman has no taunts that he can then punch Xixo for 20.
It goes like this: Twisting Nether, Doomsayer, win the game.
Okay, yeah,
Never
yeah.
get Stone Clawed.
Yeah. If he goes Twisting Nether into Doomsayer, then Xixo's able to put taunts to stop the 20 damage combo. But it's tricky to navigate for sure.
Yeah. I like the nuance of Reno Lock against midrange, though. Like, Cult Apothecary with Shadow Flame is one of the combinations that I love the most, I think, in the
or
matchup.
Bran as well.
Sure.
Bran called Apothecary
Yeah.
heal for like 16 to 20, you know?
And I really like that interaction in the deck. And there's a lot of those in Reno Lock, which makes the deck very interesting to watch. But Xixo, you know, at the end of the day, it comes down to the aggro Shaman taking that win. And Xixo also geared his deck a little bit better against it with the addition of the single Stormcrack and the Horse Rider as well in the deck, which makes that early game contest of the board.
Yeah, and the Azure Drakes as well.
Yeah.
Just always able to have Spell Power Storm available, basically, which is insane against aggro Shaman because they oftentimes rely on, you know, Feral Spirits and other 3-health minions to maintain their board control. And when that gets Spell Power Stormed and gets guaranteed to be all destroyed, they get shreked. But Xixo is not off to a great start with this hand.
Yeah,
And
one of the
Xieshuai's
cool
got
things,
an awesome start.
One of the weird things about this is that I feel like every single time Thunderblood Valiant had to come out to give Xixo a win in the previous two games, it just wasn't drawn.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere now, they're picked up in the worst possible spot. So Rockbiter Weapon, Lightning Bolt, Stormcrack, these are great cards to find here.
Oh, there we go.
That's
He's able to get it. He may favor toteming instead and save the Rockbiter for next turn. He needs to
Agreed.
get totems out to lower the cost of things from below. And at the moment, he doesn't have a play for the following turn, so it's not in his favor to top deck a play for the following turn. So setting up to be able to totem Rockbiter the following turn
into the thing from below on 4 is a great.
That's the natural
great
curve with this hand, yeah.
I really like Xixo's decision not to, you know, to be too scared of the Totem Golem because it's not in the big threat level yet, and you still clear it up. And you've got a lot of tools in your deck,
Yeah.
you know, to handle the aggression. So
Yeah. A lot of players would have, you know, just immediately used the Rockbiter there, and that's not playing your hand. That's relying on a top deck, and Xixo is navigating his hand in such a way that he's playing with the cards he has and not having to rely on a top deck, which is definitely the way you want to be playing Hearthstone most of the time.
Yeah.
And you make your own luck, basically, by playing your hand appropriately.
Well, this is actually looking very good for Xixo. That Lightning Storm kind of cements the advantage that he's looking to get in the matchup. That is insane.
Nice.
So I
Yeah.
guess you could play it now.
You could go it with the
but
Lightning
it's
Storm,
kind
but then
of-
what do you do?
Yeah, it's kind of awkward. You have to hero power again.
Yeah.
On turn 5. So Thing from Below could still be a play. You do clean up the board.
What if a Flame Tongue comes out?
Give him the trade and then Storm with Tunnel Chalk, and then you can
Okay.
play something else that you pick up.
Sure, that makes sense, yeah.
I guess it's all right.
I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've convinced me.
I've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think either way, Xixo is still eventually going to be able to stabilize to the point where the Valiants become such a big problem for Xieshuai that he has to commit a ton of resources to them.
It's going to heavily depend on the rolls on this Lightning Storm, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
I mean,
If everything sticks around for Xieshuai, it's going to be awkward for Xixo, but if he hits like both the high rolls on this Storm and kills both Feral Spirits, it's absolutely insane. He has the ability, you know, to hit that the 1 and 3 here to go for the Spell Power Totem to get.
I was going to say, do you ever just forego the Trog for the 33% and set up more totems?
There it
Oh
is!
my goodness!
Absolutely huge. They're able to take out a lot of the RNG by taking an RNG.
It still has the high rolls anyway.
Yeah, it still had the high rolls, so he would have gotten it and been able to develop the 3/3 Trog if he had wanted to. But
yeah, it's still a very meaningful totem to find.
Definitely meaningful.
The stress level goes down when it crops up.
And now he's got the ability to, if he wants to, go with the Tunnel Truck Stormcrack. But if he does that, he's going to be overloaded the following turn when he's on a 7-mana turn, so he can't Thunder Bluff Valiant plus Hero Power. So that's why it may deter him from the Stormcrack here, and you may see him go for, Tuskar Totemic.
I guess Totem plus Stormcrack is not too bad because you get the Tunnel Trog with the Totemic and the Hero Power.
Okay.
So that, again,
Really
fills up the board
spacing
with
out the Hero
totems.
powers, yeah.
Get
That's
all the
interesting.
Valiant, because it's a Bloodlust, effectively. Once
it
you've
is,
all,
effectively.
like you're setting up a win.
Yeah, and Xieshuai is going to be ignoring these totems here, just Doomhammer in the face a little bit. He's got the Rockbiter to follow up this train of thought.
Not sure about that, but I guess you kind of have to.
Well,
with a
you
double
know,
Doom
Thunder Bluff
Hammer.
can't come out this turn,
Sure.
so it's reasonable to ignore the totems. Xieshuai also does have a Lightning Storm in his Aggro Shaman deck.
That's true.
So if he's able to pick that up, he can make quick work of the totems. Like, he doesn't win the game if he, trades with every single minion that Xixo has.
Oh, man.
Because he'll just run out of damage then. He needs to, at some point, turn on the guns.
Well, here's the scary part. That's not the only Valiant you're going to have to deal with.
Oh, the double Valiant totem.
That's really,
Holy
really
smokes.
scary for Xieshuai. He has to deal with this guy. But look at the damage waste.
He's
You have
ju-
to push
he's going
face
all
almost.
face. Yeah.
I feel like you must commit, but
If he trades, he knows he's going to lose. He's going to run out of damage.
I mean, Xixo's going to be rejoiced to see this. This could actually
Rejoiced
just
or
be,
scared?
I don't
That could be a
know.
Lava Burst in Xixuai's hand right now, and he could be looking for a little bit of damage
Oh,
to
man.
close out the game. So,
Oh, you just hex your own stuff.
Hex.
You get Stoneclaw guaranteed here, right?
Oh, yeah, it's true.
And then you can hex the drop.
I don't know if he's that desperate
yeah,
yet.
yeah. It's not. We're not there yet.
There's
but-
no card, like one card that gives Xieshuai lethal if Xixo clears the board. Xixo really needs to be setting up a way, figuring out how does he set up lethal here. That's the most important part.
Right. I mean, double Valiant is really tasty, just in
Yeah.
general, right?
It's
Like you
4,
buff
8.
your totems by +4 attack. Your Stoneclaw
Yeah.
is a 4/2, and the opponent has to attack it anyway.
But then, what trades do you make to try and make sure that you're not gonna die?
I might surrender some of the health on my.
But you
My
need to make
Valiant.
sure you send enough damage face that you're setting up lethal. So, can you afford to give away? You can afford to give away pretty much all of your minions because you have double Valiant.
I was gonna
following
say,
turn,
yeah, they
right?
don't matter. You just get them back right
Yeah.
away. The sequencing was, by the way, pretty important. It's not a big deal because Xixo would have never missed it, but like you can't trade first, otherwise GG.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to make sure that your minions, you have to buff the totems and then get
So
even
yeah,
more
I think
value.
he's successfully set up lethal for the following turns. So, aside from a storm from Xieshuai off the top there, Xieshuai is out of luck for this game. So
And Navi
Xixo is taking it.
Is taking the tournament. The first match of the event, actually in the LAN finals, was Xixo versus Xieshuai, and it ends on that note with Xixo winning, taking the trophy. Not looking awkward at all. That's great.
Yeah, super excited to get a win here.
Nice framing. That was a great cropping of Xixo's crotch.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So.
But now look at that face. Just says, you know what? I got another trophy in my name.
Yeah, another trophy. Xixo's been on fire. He's this is now his 5th first place title.
Yeah, and the rankings will reflect that, placing even higher. He's like third in the world.
He's
right
probably
now.
#1 in the world right now.
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
amount of
All right,
opponents he beat today.
congratulations, Xixo. Hope
Oh,
you
we're on
can
an
use your
interview
other
now
arm
with Xixo.
to hold the check here. As your congratulatory prize, our first place finisher is Xixo from Germany. Xixo, give me some of your thoughts on winning this tournament and what it means to you.
It means a lot. I had only one major win. I had a lot of performances in last, but yeah, it feels like winning another one.
Xixo 能不能分享一下你现在的心情？那 Xixo 是说，我现在感觉非常好。那我之前也是只有赢过一次大的比赛，之前有过一次前4的表现。那我对我现在的今天的表现可以说是非常满意的。
You're one of the first serious pros that really came up from the grassroots scene that I've known you for a few years now. You've always said you wanted to prove that you were just one of the best, if not the best player in the game. Do you feel like that right now that you've been able to climb yet another mountain and win a major tournament?
So like the tournament started with me playing the qualifier to the qualifier, and in that I was down 0-3 to Amnesiac with a terrible lineup left against this combo deck. They wanted to just concede, so I don't know. I feel like I just lucked my way to the win.
那 Xixo， 我们也是知道你是一个草根选手的代表，那你现在拿到了这次比赛大赛的冠军，你是不是觉得自己终于证明了自己？然后 Xixo 也是说，感觉情感现在是很复杂的，因为在我之前是在打预选赛的时候，是差点就要输掉了比赛。那我现在看到自己今天一步成功拿到这个冠军，感到非常开心。
Yeah, I mean, certain situations you felt like you were down, but you also had a lot of great plays too coming into this tournament. What was your favorite moment of the event, the entire thing, whether online portion or coming to the LAN event finals?
The last match against Amnesiac, I was really down 0-3. I thought like all my decks are greedy and can win against this combo deck. But yeah, 1 by 1, I won that game and I was already like super relieved when I won that match. Like I would have been happy if I lost the next round just for winning that match, but got a little further than that.
Yeah, best of 7, right?
Yeah, best of 7 is pretty good.
那你对自己这一路过来哪一场比赛你觉得是最惊心动魄的？那 Xixo 还是说，那还是我能够晋级到预选赛之前的那一场，也是之前我提到0比3落后的情况下，我觉得我自己要输了，但是我一步一个脚印，全身心的投入到比赛中，然后成功的也是一路过关斩将，最后终于站到了这里。
All right, so the moment is yours. Xixo, congratulations on your win. $20,000, that's a lot of money. Why don't you go ahead and say final words, thank you, shout-outs, and comments you want to say?
Yeah, first of all, thank you to all my fans, like especially the European fans had to stay up at like pretty rough times to watch this, so I really appreciate the ones tuning in. And yeah, thanks to the organizer for having me, and thanks to all the players. It was a really cool time here. Really enjoyed it. My stay.
All right.
那么恭喜你是拿到了这次2万美金的大奖，你有什么想要跟你的观众或者想要跟你家人说的吗 ？Xixo 说是谢谢所有的朋友，谢谢所有的粉丝，谢谢所有在欧洲一直坚持来在一个很不方便的时间看我比赛的朋友。那么我也是很高兴这次终于能够夺得这个冠军。
Xixo wanted to thank a few other people before we go.
Yeah, I practiced with a few people because this one is the best of 7 with 5 decks, so people had to really adapt and think about their lineup to practice with me. So I want to give a shout out to Crane, Nyman, Hoy, Tic Tac, and a few other players who played a couple of best of 7s against me. It really helped.
All right.
这次也是启用到了一个 BO7 的赛制，那我也是感谢一下之前陪我一直练习的 Tic Tac, Crane, Nyman， 还有 Hoy 这4位选手，谢谢大家。
All right, congratulations on a Season 2 champion. It's Xixo for winning $20,000 and the Season 2 championship. All right, we've had a really good journey. Thank you so much, everyone who's been tuning in throughout the entire season of StarLadder and iLeague. We've had a champion from China and champion from Europe, perhaps someone from America next time, who knows. But everyone else here, we're done, so thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time in another edition of the Star Series. Have a good night.
All right, some closing words are from Xixo. Not enough BM in the farewell, but I guess, you know, people mature and eventually they don't start thanking their opponents for having bad decks. It was nice.
Yeah.
It was very nice this time.
It is nice. Xixo has changed a lot.
Yeah.
His upcoming, he used to be super BM, you know. Everyone used to follow him expecting to hear all the salt in BM, and now that he's winning, he's a lot more chipper.
Yeah, honestly, I think Xixo deserves this title. I feel like just the lineup from the deck building and whatnot, and the plays that he's made, and just the overall performance, it's been something pretty awesome to watch. So I'm pretty happy about the result. Your bets, how do you feel about them?
No complaints, no regrets.
Yeah, everything's good at the end of the day. Good. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching the event. We're going to be tuning out here at StarLadder Season 2. We'll be back for the next edition. Hopefully, maybe somewhere else. Who knows? Maybe we've been to Belarus. We've been to China. Maybe next time we end up somewhere else in Europe. It'd be pretty cool to travel the world. So, Firebat, any final words before we close the show?
No final words. Just really, I guess, thanks to the organizers for having me. Shout out to Lothar, letting me fill in for him as he's out doing, G2 things and just Lothar stuff or whatever supermodel things he does,
That's what he does. He's supermodel.
I think he said he is, right?
It is part-time.
Yeah, part-time, yeah.
Part-time supermodel.
Yeah, not too bad of a gig.
I like that.
Yeah, I like it too.
He does it for me.
He does it for me.
So, that being said, guys, you have a nice one. Thanks for watching. And from everyone at StarLadder, myself, Firebat, and Frodan, have a nice one.